Alright, this is a video for this assignment here, the intro in Mission 1 Evolution Lab. So you don't have to watch all of this video. If you have questions, you can watch sections that apply to you, but I'm going to go through the entire Mission 1 in this video, so that way you can see everything, hopefully answer any questions that you have, but you don't have to watch this entire video. You do want to click the link to go to the lab, and it looks like this, and you want to click Play Game. And then I already logged in, so let me log out. Alright, so when you first click, you're going to get this window, and you want to sign in with your Google account. Use the school account, or whatever Google account you want. And then you should be logged in, so you can click the play game. But you need to make sure that you're logged in, because otherwise it's not going to save your information. And the way you do that is by hovering over this little yellow person, and then make sure it displays the name that is on your Google account there. So then you have this main screen, and on this main screen you are going to start by watching this video, the Evolution 101. You just click the play there, and then while you're watching that video you have to answer the questions here. So that's the directions, and then these questions right here. So this page you're going to want to answer by watching the Evolution 101 video right here. So go ahead and pause this video, watch that, answer those questions, and then come back and continue this video when you're ready to move on. Alright, now you're on to the next page, and you are on to your first mission. So you're going to click where it says play. And that's going to open up this video here, Training Trees, and so you're going to watch this Training Trees video, and this video goes with this page right here, this Training Trees page. So if you want to pause this video and then watch the Training Trees page, Training Trees video, and then come back, and I'll go over this page with you to make sure that you understand how phylogenetic trees or cladograms work. So go ahead and watch that video, and then come back to this video. Alright, so you've watched the Training Trees video, and now I'm going to go through the answers on this page just to make sure you understand how to read a tree, because that's super important for this assignment. So this is, what does the circle node represent? So they're talking about this red circle right here, and which of these? So is it the common ancestor species of A and B? And so the common ancestor species of A and B, if you follow them back, it's wherever they intersect, and they would intersect right here, and so that's not where the circle is, so it's not A. And then B is a speciation event, and that is correct. So that is the answer, because it's not C, it's not A and B. But it is a speciation event. So anytime you have a node on a tree where it splits like a fork, that is where a speciation event occurred, meaning you had one species and then all of a sudden it split into two, and that's what these nodes are. Which way does time run on this tree? Time runs up. Okay, so this is older on the bottom and newer on the top, and so it goes from root to branch tip. Which lived more recently in time, the common ancestor species of A and B, or the common ancestor species of B and C? Let me switch to a different color. So A and B's common ancestor would have been, like I said earlier, would be here. So this is the ancestor of A and B, and then B and C's ancestor was at the red dot here. So the one that is more recent is the one closest to the top of the tree, and so the one that lived more recently would be the ancestor species of B and C. And I'm just going to circle this, but you could write it out here. So remember to use your texting tool. The ancestor of B and C is more recent, because it's closer to the top of the tree. Alright, which traits do A and B share? Which traits do B and C share? So you have some traits here: trait 1, trait 2, trait 3, trait 4, trait 5. So what does A and B share? We'll do that one first. So A, trait 1 would go to A, and so would trait 2, but trait 2 doesn't go to B. So the lineage that, the trait evolved, and then it follows the lineage out. And so trait 1 goes to A and B, but not trait 2. So far we have trait 1, but not trait 2. So trait 3 would go to B and C, but it wouldn't go to A, so they wouldn't share that. And then trait 4 would go to B, but not to anyone else. And then trait 5 would go to C, but not to anyone else. So the only trait that A and B have in common are, let me erase my little comma there, is 1. Okay? And then B and C would share trait 1 as well, since everyone has trait 1. Trait 2 only goes to A. Trait 3 goes to B and C, so they would have 3 in common. And then trait 4 is unique to B, and trait 5 is unique to C, so they share 1 and 3. Use your answers for question 3 and 4 and explain why B and C are more closely related to each other than A and C are. And so, they are more recently related. So there's less evolutionary history separating them. And they share more traits in common. They share 2 traits, whereas A and B only share 1 trait. Alright, next one. So there's more than one way to show a relationship using a phylogenetic tree. Which of these trees shows the exact same relationship as the tree above? And you may circle more than one. So let me grab my drawing tool. So, tree above, this one. A over here, B and C more closely related. So A over here, B and C more closely related. This one matches. You could reverse these, it doesn't matter. This one shows B more distant and A and C more close, and so that is incorrect. This one is not the same relationship. This one is just sideways, and it's fine to be sideways, and this one is just reversed. So all 3 of these give you the same idea as this, they're just written slightly different. Okay, so hopefully that helps you understand trees a little bit more before we start the missions. Alright, now you're going to start mission 1. You're going to click play here where it says red, green, and gecko. So here's how you do this really cool lab. You pick up organisms and you put them in the darker box here. And then you drag organisms close together to form some sort of relationship, like that. Then you'll have traits over here, and you have to decide where these traits go in order to light up the circles above these organisms. And this time they only have 1 circle, but sometimes they have 3 or 4 or 5, and you need to make sure they get all their right traits. If you don't know what a trait an organism has, so right now the trait that we have to put out is cells with nuclei. And let's say you didn't know if geckos have cells or palm trees have cells. You could click the magnifying glass and then it would give you the traits. So the gold dust day gecko has cells with nuclei, so it does have that trait. And if I go to the palm tree, it also has cells with nuclei, so it does have that trait as well. Make sure you click this X, don't click the back button or anything else on here because it'll close and make you start over. So this is the X right here you want to close. Then pick up your cells with nuclei, put it where it would go on the tree to make sure that it ends up going to both organisms, and the only place that would be right here. And it's going to drop them up, and then if it lights up, then you're correct. If the ball falls out of the sky, then you're wrong. Now they're going to add on another organism, and they want you to learn how to use the magnifying tool, like I just showed you. So you're going to click that, click your magnifying tool. The trait that they're giving you is heterotroph or autotroph this time. So geckos are heterotrophs, meaning they eat organisms other than themselves. They don't do photosynthesis. The palm tree, though, is a photosynthetic autotroph, so it does photosynthesis. It doesn't eat. And then the mushroom is a heterotroph, so mushrooms eat other organisms. They don't make their own food. So I need to put the mushroom over here closest to the gecko because both of these organisms are heterotrophs. They both eat other organisms for food. And then the autotroph was over here. Alright, and then when you've lit up all of the colored balls on top of these, then you're going to get a question, and that gives you one of the leaves as well for your mission. So now that you've completed the first puzzle, answer the question, is an animal or a plant more closely related to a fungus? And so the fungus, the mushroom, we put closer to the animal, not the plant. And then they'll tell you if you're right or not. And that finishes one part of mission 1, and so you're going to go to your assignment page here, and you're going to answer the question. So, under a microscope, the cells in the mushroom, plants, and animals have visible nuclei that makes them all eukaryotes. Okay? Eukaryotes have nuclei. What trait do the mushrooms and the gecko share that the tree lacks? And that was that they were they are heterotrophs. They eat other organisms. There we go. They eat other organisms because they're heterotrophs. Draw your completed tree and an equivalent tree in the box provided. So, grab my drawing tool here. We put the mushroom right next to the gecko, and then we put the palm tree over here. I'm going to use my text box here instead of drawing. Let me make this a lot smaller. So this would be, I think it was mushroom over here, and then the one next to it here was gecko there, and then this one here was a palm tree. And then you could draw this tree reversed, where you put the mushroom and the gecko over here, and then the palm tree on this side. It would be the same, and I could even reverse these, so this could be mushroom, and this could be gecko. The idea here is that there's not just like one kind of tree out there. There are different ways to draw trees. There will be different ways for you to build trees, and so those are equivalent trees. Pop-up question at the end of the level asks whether an animal or a plant is more closely related to a fungus. Why is the correct answer a little surprising to many people? So when you think of a fungus, you think of something that grows in the ground, like plants do, and funguses don't move like plants do. So you would think that like funguses and plants are more closely related since they seem to live very similar lives. But they're not, because fungi eat and plants do photosynthesis. And so that's kind of surprising to a lot of people, that mushrooms are actually more closely related to you than they are to plants. But you can type out your answer there. Alright, on to the next section. So this time we are learning about an important trait, about amniotes. This is going to come up over and over again. So you're going to put your animals in. It really doesn't matter how you put them in at first. So I'm going to just drop them in here. Alright, so here is a little strategy. So see, the stick insect only has one ball, meaning there's only one trait here that's going to go to the stick insect. So I don't want the stick insect in the middle of my tree. I want it on the edge. It's going to be fairly simple, so it would have evolved earlier. So I want to drag it towards the bottom of the tree. That's going to make it hang out by himself. Now the king snake and the dog both have 3 traits, so I want to put those two closer together because they both have 3, so it might be the same 3, whereas the goldfish only has 2, so I want it a little bit separated from these 3. And that's just a strategy you can use when you start to build these trees. Whoever has fewer, of these circles goes further out, and then more circles should be closer together. So then let's say you don't know what these traits are. An amniote is a special kind of egg. You can always click the magnifying glass and look those up and see who has what. It'll list them for you. So first trait I'm going to pick up is the amniote. And so an amniote is a special kind of egg that has a yolk inside of it, and it has like the egg yolk, egg white, those sort of things. Egg-laying organisms with a hard shell have amniotic eggs. So that's going to go there. And if you didn't know that, again, click the magnifying glass. And then vertebrae are backbones, and so bugs don't have vertebrae because they don't have bones. They wear their like skeletons on the outside of their body. So this one's going to go here, because a vertebrae belongs to fish and snakes and dogs, and that would give it to all of them. And then the bottom one here is bilateral symmetry. And a bilateral symmetry is just if you take an organism and you chop it in half, will the left side and the right side be equal? And humans have bilateral symmetry, so like your left side and your right side are the same, but trees don't. Plants don't have bilateral symmetry. It's not like if you cut a tree in half, its branches on the left and the right side will look exactly the same. This is more of a characteristic of animals. So this is going to go down here because everything here has bilateral symmetry. It is the same on the left side and the right side. And then you're done with that. So they all have bilateral symmetry. Now you're going to go to your paper here. So what's an amniote and which animals on the tree are amniotes? And so an amniote is a special kind of egg that is self-contained and often has a shell. It has a yolk part. Alright, if you were to add a cat onto this tree, where would you put it so that the cat and dog are more closely related? So I'm gonna, if the cat's already there. Okay, so we put a cat on the tree. What trait would have them, like, what trait would they share? And there's lots of answers. But something that cats and dogs have in common that lots of other organisms don't have is that they have fur. So that's a trait that I could put there, that the snake didn't have, and the goldfish didn't have, and the stick insect didn't have. Alright, so that's a trait I could put there. And then this belongs to the next section, so let's go back to the last one here, Tree of Life Vegetarian Edition. And again, I don't know anything about these, so I'm just going to pop them up here and see what we got. So they all have 3 except for seaweed. This one has 2, so I'm going to bring seaweed down closer to the bottom of the tree. And now I don't know anything about plants, so who has petals in multiples of 3, who has petals in multiples of 4 or 5. I do know that everything here is a photosynthetic autotroph because they're all plants, so I can put that there. And then flowers, well, everything over here are flowers, so I'm going to put that there. And then I know seaweed releases spores into the water because it's the only one that lives in the water. Alright, so that leaves me these things I don't know, and so again, you can click the magnifying glass and you can read about these organisms. So I do know after reading that the onion and the banana are more closely related, and they have petals in multiples of 3. And then the lemon and the radish are more closely related because they have petals in multiples of 4 or 5. Alright. So, is a banana more closely related to a lemon or an onion? Surprisingly, it is more closely related to an onion. Alright, so fruits and vegetables are usually displayed in separate sections of the grocery store, but some plants that produce vegetables are more closely related to plants that produce fruit. And then, do not close this window. You need this. Let me go back to the assignment page here. So what does it say? We often use the term fruit and vegetable to describe plants we eat, however, not many people know the real difference between them. If you're a botanist, a fruit isn't something sweet or delicious, it's the part of some plants that contain seeds. This makes things like tomatoes, nuts, and squash fruits, technically, which is kind of crazy to think about, that like nuts are fruits. And also squash, like you don't think of like a butternut squash as a fruit, but it is. Any other part of the plant that we eat is called a vegetable. Some vegetables are roots, like carrots, and others are stems and leaves, like celery and lettuces. Being an animal yourself, it's often easy to overlook plants and their many interesting traits. In this level, you'll gain a new appreciation for some of the plants we eat. Things are getting more challenging now, so be sure to use the species and species compare tabs. Answer questions 12 to 13 before you move on to mission 2. So what makes seaweed different from all the other plants on this tree? And the difference was that it reproduces with spores and not flowers, like other fruits and vegetables. The pop-up question at the end of this level asks whether banana is more closely related to a lemon or an onion. And why might the correct answer be surprising to many people? So, like we said, a banana is a fruit and an onion is a vegetable, and so it's surprising that bananas are more closely related to onions than they are to other fruits like lemons. So you can write that there. Okay, now this page. Go to the Evolution Lab screen and take a screenshot of this screen here and save it to your computer. And then you want to open it from your computer. Remember where you saved it, and then you're going to insert it here. So you need a copy of your Mission 1 tree. Okay? And then you have to get at least, let's see. You have to get at least 4 leaves. We'll make that the rule on each mission. So at least 4 leaves, meaning you can miss a couple of the quiz questions. Because that's not that big of a deal. But at least 4 leaves out of 6 need to be like lit up in white. If you miss the question, then they might not be white, but at least get 4 out of 6. And so you want to, paste that here into your screen. If you did accidentally close this, another way you could get the same information, so let's say you clicked next instead of taking your screenshot, is you could take a screenshot of this box right here, and this also shows the leaves, because what I want to see is the leaves and how many leaves you got. So you could also just turn in a little screenshot of this one here. But either one works, and do not turn this in without the screenshot. I'll just return it back to you as incomplete. So make sure you do get your mission 1 screenshot and you insert that here. You can insert it from your computer, or you can also insert an image from your Google Drive. So lots of ways to do that. Hopefully you find one that works for you, but insert your screenshot, and then once all the questions are answered, you can go ahead and turn this assignment in.